The remote mountains of eastern Turkey have long held secrets beneath their rugged terrain, but none have captured global attention quite like the recent discoveries at the Durupınar site. Located approximately 20 miles south of Mount Ararat, this boat-shaped formation has been the subject of intense scientific scrutiny for decades. However, recent expeditions have uncovered findings that have left even the most skeptical researchers stunned. What began as a routine geological survey has transformed into what many are calling the most significant archaeological controversy of the 21st century. The implications of these discoveries extend far beyond simple historical curiosity, touching upon questions of human survival, ancient catastrophes, and the very foundation of several major world religions. The story of modern interest in this site dates back to 1959, when Turkish Army Captain İlhan Durupınar first photographed the unusual formation during a NATO mapping mission. The images revealed a distinct boat-shaped mound measuring approximately 538 feet in length, a figure that bears striking resemblance to the biblical description of Noah's Ark, which Genesis describes as 300 cubits long. When converted to modern measurements using the standard Royal Egyptian cubit of 20.62 inches, this calculation yields approximately 515 feet, remarkably close to the formation's actual dimensions. This mathematical coincidence alone would have been noteworthy, but what researchers would later discover beneath the surface would prove far more extraordinary. Professor Dr. Faruk Kaya, a geologist from Agri Ibrahim Season University, has led multiple investigations at the site since 2019. In an interview with the Turkish news outlet Hürriyet, Kaya described his initial impressions upon first examining the formation up close. The symmetry is immediately apparent even to an untrained eye, Kaya stated. Natural geological processes typically create irregular patterns, but this formation displays consistent angles and parallel lines that suggest deliberate construction. His team began systematic ground-penetrating radar surveys in 2021, partnering with researchers from Istanbul Technical University and American geophysicists specializing in subsurface imaging. The ground-penetrating radar surveys produced results that exceeded all expectations. Beneath approximately 25 feet of accumulated sediment and debris, the GPR images revealed a complex internal structure consisting of multiple linear features, angular compartments, and what appears to be a central corridor running nearly the entire length of the formation. Dr. John Larson, a New Zealand-based geophysicist who participated in the 2022 survey season, told the New Zealand Herald that the images showed distinct parallel lines with consistent spacing, something you simply do not see in natural rock formations. The radar data suggested the presence of deck-like layers separated by approximately 6 to 8 feet of vertical space, consistent with the internal architecture one would expect from a large maritime vessel. Perhaps most compelling was the discovery of what appears to be a series of bulkhead-like structures positioned at regular intervals. These features would serve the exact purpose that naval architects describe as necessary for maintaining structural integrity in large wooden ships. The resistivity scans, which measure how easily electrical currents pass through subsurface materials, revealed significant differences between the interior and exterior of the formation. Materials inside the structure showed much higher resistance readings, consistent with the presence of fossilized organic matter rather than the surrounding compacted soil and rock. The soil samples collected during the 2021 and 2022 expeditions provided some of the most scientifically significant evidence. Laboratory analysis conducted at Istanbul University's Geochemistry Department revealed that samples taken from within the formation contained approximately 3 times higher concentrations of organic carbon than control samples taken from the surrounding area. More strikingly, the potassium levels within the formation measured nearly 40% higher than baseline readings. These chemical signatures are precisely what researchers would expect to find if a large wooden structure had decayed in place over thousands of years, leaving behind concentrated organic residues. Dr. William Crabtree, a soil scientist who reviewed the data for the Journal of Archaeological Science, noted that the chemical profile matched known patterns from other ancient wooden structures, including Viking longhouses and medieval shipwrecks. The combination of elevated organic carbon, high potassium, and specific trace elements creates a signature that is very difficult to explain through natural processes alone. Crabtree explained in a podcast interview with the Biblical Archaeology Society. However, he also cautioned against drawing definitive conclusions, noting that similar chemical anomalies can sometimes result from ancient agricultural activities or animal habitation. Perhaps the most controversial aspect of the research involves attempts to date the organic material found at the site. Carbon-14 dating of charcoal fragments and decomposed plant matter recovered from deep core samples produced dates ranging from approximately 3,500 to 5,000 years before present. This time frame roughly corresponds to the period when many scholars believe the legendary flood may have occurred, based on Mesopotamian records and geological evidence of widespread flooding in the Black Sea region around 5,600 BCE. However, the dating process has faced criticism because organic material can easily be introduced into a site through natural processes long after any structure might have been built. Dr. Lawrence Collins, a retired geologist from California State University Northridge, has been one of the most vocal skeptics of the ARK interpretation. In a 2019 paper published in the journal Creation Research Society Quarterly, Collins argued that the Dirupinner Formation is entirely natural, specifically what geologists call a synclinal fold. According to Collins, the boat-like shape results from differential erosion of folded rock layers, a process that can create remarkably ship-like forms in various locations around the world. He points to examples in California's Death Valley and the Swiss Alps, where natural erosion has produced shapes that resemble artificial structures. If the formation does indeed represent the remains of a massive wooden vessel constructed thousands of years ago, the implications extend far beyond religious validation. The size alone presents a staggering engineering challenge. Building a wooden ship measuring over 500 feet in length would require sophisticated knowledge of structural engineering, material science, and naval architecture that historians have traditionally attributed to much later civilizations. The ancient Egyptians, widely regarded as the most advanced shipbuilders of the ancient world, constructed vessels no longer than approximately 150 feet until well into the first millennium BC. The discovery would also force a fundamental reassessment of ancient human capabilities and the transmission of knowledge across civilizations. How could such advanced shipbuilding techniques appear and then seemingly vanish from the historical record for thousands of years? This question has led some researchers to propose uncomfortable possibilities about the fragility of human civilization and how easily technological knowledge can be lost. The Bronze Age collapse around 1200 BCE demonstrated that complex societies can indeed forget critical technologies when their social structures break down. The apparent disappearance of advanced shipbuilding knowledge would represent an even more dramatic example of this phenomenon. The soil samples from the Dirupinner site have also revealed compelling evidence of ancient flooding. Marine microfossils, including shells of small aquatic organisms, have been identified in sediment layers at depths suggesting submersion in ancient times. Dr. Fethi Ahmet Yüksel, a marine geologist who analyzed samples from the site, told the Turkish newspaper Sabah that the presence of these marine organisms in soil samples taken at significant elevation strongly suggests that this region was once underwater. The elevation of the Dirupinner site is approximately 6,500 feet above sea level, making any ancient flooding event truly catastrophic in scale. Critics have noted that marine fossils can be deposited at high elevations through geological uplift over millions of years, without requiring a single catastrophic flood event. The region is geologically active, with the ongoing collision of the Arabian and Eurasian plates continuing to push up mountain ranges. However, proponents argue that the specific combination of flood indicators, including sedimentary layering patterns consistent with rapid deposition, points toward a single catastrophic event rather than slow geological processes. The scientific community remains deeply divided over the interpretation of the Dirupinner site. Mainstream archaeologists and geologists have largely dismissed the ARK identification, pointing to the lack of definitive evidence, such as worked wood, metal fittings, or unambiguous construction features. Dr. Kenneth Fader, professor of archaeology at Central Connecticut State University and author of Frauds, Myths, and Mysteries, Science and Pseudoscience in Archaeology, has been particularly critical. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, Feder wrote in a 2022 blog post. We have interesting geological features and some chemical anomalies, not evidence of a giant boat built by a biblical patriarch. However, a growing number of researchers have called for more extensive investigation rather than outright dismissal. The Turkish government has designated the area as a national park and has encouraged further research, though with appropriate safeguards to protect the site from damage or exploitation. A 2023 proposal for extensive core drilling and limited excavation awaits approval from Turkish authorities, who must balance scientific interests with preservation concerns and the site's significance to religious believers worldwide. Whether the Durupınar Formation represents the fossilized remains of Noah's Ark, a natural geological curiosity, or something else entirely, the site has already made an indelible mark on both scientific inquiry and popular imagination. The ongoing research has demonstrated that even in the 21st century, with all our advanced technology and accumulated knowledge, the world still holds mysteries that challenge our understanding of history and human capability. Future excavations may provide definitive answers, or they may raise even more questions. For now, the boat-shaped mound in eastern Turkey remains what it has always been, a silent sentinel holding secrets that continue to terrify, inspire, and perplex all who encounter it. The truth, whatever it may be, awaits beneath the soil, preserved in chemical signatures and geological formations that speak across millennia to a world still searching for answers about its own past.